Hi friends, I hope you all had a great Christmas. Today we're talking about the Mastiff. The Mastiff is a favourite of the pros because it's a game-winning weapon, if you know how to hit your shots. But how many times do you find you're only hitting 13 damage, and getting killed before you can hit any decent shots? I thought it would be good to do a video on how to use the Mastiff. I'll share some tips on how to use the Mastiff more effectively, and hopefully it will help you win games using the Mastiff. Let's start by talking about where to aim when using the Mastiff. Typically with most weapons you're trying to aim for the head, because headshots typically do the most damage. Well, with the Mastiff you actually want to be aiming for the chest, unless you're at point blank range. There are two main reasons behind this. The spread of the bullet drop means you actually hit more of the pellets if you're aiming for the chest than if you're aiming for the head. As you can see, typically at a given distance you actually do more damage when you're aiming for the chest. And that's purely because more pellets are hitting when you aim for the chest, due to the spread distribution of the Mastiff. Secondly, the Mastiff actually has a relatively low headshot multiplier. It's 1.25 times, but at greater distances than 38 meters, it's actually only 1 times headshot damage, which means even if you're hitting headshots, you're not doing a massive amount more damage than if you're hitting body shots. Here's another little tip. With the Mastiff, there isn't any leg shot damage reduction. So actually, hitting someone in the legs does the same amount of damage per pellet as a body shot. Therefore, don't be afraid to aim lower. Okay, so now you know where to aim. Next, let's look at how to aim. The Mastiff has quite a wide horizontal spread, so you really want to be ADSing when shooting the Mastiff. The iron sights are actually pretty good because they show you exactly where the edge of the spread is. If you line up the edge of the iron sights with the target's body, you should be hitting pretty much all of your pellets. If you want to use a scope, I would say the best scope to use, and this is personal opinion, but I find the digital threat scope, the 1x digital threat scope, is actually the best scope to use. Not only can you see through smoke and caustic gas with it, but it allows you to judge your shots quite nicely. Simply line up the middle of the hollow with the edge brackets of the 1x digital threat scope, and that should give you a pretty decent chest shot if you aim for the centre of the chest. The 2x scope actually also works pretty well. Slightly surprisingly, I would say, but mainly it's because it allows you to truly hit the centre of the chest. If you aim directly for the middle, because it's so zoomed in, you're able to hit that centre chest area a lot easier, and that will help you hit with more of your pellets and do more damage. I would say using the 2x can be a little tricky if you've got an enemy that's strafing quite well, because it's a little harder to track left and right then. I would also say the only time I would suggest hip firing is if you're really close, as in point blank range, then it's okay to hip fire. If you're a good distance away from your enemy, then you probably want to be ADSing, because hip firing you will find doesn't hit many pellets, and that's kind of when you start doing 13 damage only. A few other tips to help improve your Mastiff gameplay. 1. Use the Mastiff to finish your opponents. So the Mastiff has a slower fire animation than pretty much any other weapon, especially without a bolt. So actually a good way to get used to using the Mastiff is to combine it with a faster firing weapon. Use that faster firing weapon first to deal some initial damage, and then use the Mastiff to finish off your opponent. It's a good way to get practice with the Mastiff. Once you get good with the Mastiff, then I'll suggest combining it with a long range weapon. Use the long range weapon to deal damage. I personally prefer the Hemlock or the G7, and then switching to the Mastiff when you get up close to finish off your opponents. I find these combos work quite well. Another tip, the jump Mastiff shot is surprisingly effective. I find that jumping and aiming down with the Mastiff, you tend to do more damage. It can be a little tricky to do, but once you get used to jumping and shooting down with the Mastiff, it can be very effective. The next tip to help you with your Mastiff gameplay is use cover with the Mastiff. I mean, this tip works with most weapons, but as the Mastiff has a slightly slower animation between shots, you can actually really use cover to your advantage by taking a shot with the Mastiff and then ducking behind cover, then taking another shot, ducking behind cover, and keep going until you down your opponent. This can be really effective to help against the slow animation of the Mastiff. Here's another tip, don't be afraid to get close with the Mastiff. Like any shotgun, I feel like it's a common reaction to either drop back or maybe hold your position when you're in a fight You don't necessarily get closer to someone that's shooting at you, but you need to fight that urge when you're using a Mastiff or any other shotgun. You want to be as close to your enemy as possible, so don't be afraid to keep moving towards the enemy even if they're shooting at you, because when you do, then the Mastiff becomes unbeatable. My final tip is a bit more of a general tip, but just try to stay calm. I feel like with the Mastiff, it's easy to start panicking if your first shot only does 13 damage, but if you stay calm, focus on the previous tips I've given you, make sure you're hitting your aim to the middle of the body, you really will down your enemy a lot quicker, even if it feels like they're shooting at you a lot quicker with an R99 or a Volt. If you can get close, stay calm, hit your Mastiff shots, you'll probably win that battle. So just stay calm and believe you can do it. And that's it. A few hopefully useful tips that should help you get better with the Mastiff. Feel free to share any tips you've got in the comments down below. I'll be interested to hear. It will take some time and practice, but once you learn how to use the Mastiff, it can really help you win more games, and that's why all the pros use it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.